What is up, Jamily? This is JamaicanFan2000 here with a special video looking back at the last year of Jamiroquai's 8th album, Automaton. Given that this is the 1-year anniversary of Jamiroquai's Automaton, and given that I had several YouTube comments of people asking me to record a video to basically talk about my thoughts of Automaton 1 year on from its original release date, I thought I'd go ahead and do a video talking about Automaton and my thoughts of Automaton so far a year on. This is, of course, the weekend. Easter weekend was the last year in 2017. Jamiroquai released their 8th album, Automaton, which ended up getting probably very positive reviews from music reviewers and most notably from people in the Jamily, especially me. I absolutely, and if you did not see my original 2-part review of Automaton, which was very in-depth and very comprehensive, be sure to go back to my channel and check out those videos of my review of Automaton. But we're a year on of the Automaton album cycle for the band Jamiroquai, and the album, I went back a few days ago and listened to the album again, and after a year, it still holds up very strong. I mean, I've listened to a lot of Jamiroquai albums in the past, you know, all the 7 previous albums, and each one of the albums in the discography have a lot of semblances of just being very, very memorable, you know, and Automaton is probably, I stand in my review previously that this is probably the best album of the new era or the new sound of Jamiroquai, and even when I first discovered the song titles on the repertory websites back in late 2016, the song titles were very bizarre sounding. I mean, you had Vitamin, you had Automaton, you had Cloud 9. I mean, little did we realize that these songs would end up being fully fleshed out experiences with each song. And a year on, Automaton still holds up very, very strong in my opinion. And not to mention, given that this album was so amazing, this will definitely be an album that holds up for many years to come. And individually for the tracks on Automaton, all the tracks just are amazing. Every song, as I've said, have their own distinct characteristics and are very, very memorable. But you know, this album was a bit of a transitional album for Jamiroquai within the purview of their new sound, and I still think this will be yet another one of these tide changes for Jamiroquai song if they move on to more albums in the future, which I do think Jamiroquai, JK, Matt Johnson, they have enough mileage, they have enough gas still in the tank to put out a few more albums under the Jamiroquai name. But I still have such a big reaction to Automaton when I first heard it. I thought it was just an amazing album, and it was a grower album. It was not probably the most grower album in Jamiroquai's discography, but still an album that stands on its own and it has a lot to say. And it did see, this album was the first Jamiroquai album in a while to see JK and Matt Johnson go back to being a little bit topical, going a little bit more social commentary with some of the songs, like Nights Out in the Jungle, and of course Dr. Buzz, which is probably the most topical song on the album. JK, that song basically talking about the gun violence in America, and it was very refreshing to see JK, Matt Johnson, and Jamiroquai go back into a little bit of social commentary about how the world is, because the last 2 or 3 albums that Jamiroquai did, they didn't talk about the world. They just stuck to the discotheque. They stuck to the party music and didn't really talk about the world. But this was a unique album, and Automaton still stands in itself as being, like I said, one of the best albums of the new sound era of Jamiroquai. Where will this go into the future? It's very hard to tell where Jamiroquai musically will be going into the future, but if Automaton is the beginning of a new musical direction for Jamiroquai, which, of course, we know it was a bit of a more EDM, a little more of a bass work-heavy album, and massive props to Paul Turner, as I've said in previous videos, for his amazing, probably his career-defining bass work on a Jamiroquai album. This was his strongest bass work so far with the band for the last few albums, and that's another highlight of this album, is the amazing bass work and evolution by Paul Turner on this album. And still, I love Automaton. It's a great album. And if you have not heard Automaton for yourself, shame on you and the Jamily for not hearing Automaton. In the description of this video down below, I'll put all social media links to Automaton so you can check it out. I'll also put links to several posts that I've done over on the Jamiroquai subreddit in regards to Automaton, most notably an extensive, comprehensive timeline from 2016 to 2017 of everything that happened with Jamiroquai, from the composition part, to the recording, to the promotions, to the release of Automaton. So be sure to check all that goodness out from the Jamiroquai subreddit. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed what you saw here on this video, me talking about Automaton, and hopefully this is a very optimistic future for Jamiroquai coming up after this album cycle finishes up, probably after about another year. Automaton, and then of course Jamiroquai hopefully will go back in the studio and start working on album number 9, you know, as JK did in the Cloud9 music video, 9. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, this is JamiraFan2000, and see you again really soon here on my channel with more Jamiroquai related videos here on the JamiraFan2000 YouTube channel. Bye bye everybody, and have a great Easter Sunday.